Hello everyone, Shroomraver here, and welcome back to Let's Make a Mini, the series where I'll be taking some of our favourite characters from the world of TV, movies, video games, comics, all that good stuff, and making them as TTRPG minifigures right here on Hero Forge. Yes, indeed, and the first thing to say, of course, is a Merry Christmas to everybody. I'm recording this, as of watching this, I'll be recording this yesterday. I'm recording it today, but I'm going to be recording it yesterday as of when this goes up. This is going up on Christmas Day. I'm recording this the day before because who wants to be recording on Christmas Day itself? But in terms of our minifigure for today, Christmas Day, obviously we want to be doing something festive, but there's no sense in just doing Santa Claus. Santa appears in various guises and various forms throughout a lot of media, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. So today we're making one particular form of Santa Claus, and that is going to be Nicholas St. North from Rise of the Guardians. Yes, that film about sort of Jack Frost and this Nicholas St. North Santa character. Easter Bunny is in there somewhere as well, the Tooth Fairy, the Sandman, all fun stuff indeed. I wanted to make this character. There are a few clothing items that are going to be quite useful for this, including one new one that has been added in Hero Forge's many updates throughout the month of December. It's exciting times indeed, so without further ado, let's make a mini. So, starting out, human male as always. We're going to be putting him up there. There are a few changes we do want to make to the body. I am just going to make the pose, well, I say the pose, the expression, sort of like this. I might give him just a little bit of a smile, but not too much. That is what we want to do here. But in terms of the head, there's quite a bit we want to do here. The hair, we do want to do something for. It's a little difficult because we're going to be using a certain hat. But I think what I want to do is give him a bit of a mane of hair. Something like this. I think that, do we want that? I'm not sure. Let's pull up a little photo. I've got one there, but I want to see a little different photo of his hair. So let's have a little look really quickly. Super professional is what we're working with here. His hair is actually quite short. So let's not do that, in fact. His hair is actually quite short, it's the beard that's long. But we're going to give him just, let's give him some regular sort of swept back hair, why not? The important thing here is the beard, of course. We want a nice Santa beard, so let's give him the wizard's beard, why the heck not? And I actually want to change the eyebrows, which is something I never really mess with, but I do want to give him quite bushy eyebrows. I think that's going to work quite nicely. Now, that's the head done. What we now want to mess with is the body. You know, in the movie, he's a big dude. You know, he's built. So we can edit the measurement on that. The weight, we want to take him up a weight class. We want to give him a bit of a big build. And we definitely want to make him muscular. You know, he is a big muscular dude. We're not going to be able to do sort of the tattoos like you see sort of the promotional photos. He's got his arms crossed. I think he's got good and bad or naughty and nice tattooed on his arms. We're not going to be able to do that, but we can make him quite a muscular fellow, and that's what we're going to do. So that pretty much is all we need to do regarding his body work. Now we can move on to the fun stuff, the clothing, the gear, the colour, all that good stuff, and start building our character. So in terms of clothing, the first thing I want to do is go to the head, because there are a lot of new things that they've added. As you can see, we've got these Brody helmets, which are quite fun. This crystal crown is interesting, but what I want is the newest thing added. Originally, I was going to be using, there's a hat down here. I was going to be using something like this, the Mongolian fur. But as you can see, what we've got here is the Cossack hat. And that is exactly what we want. I'm just going to make sure. Do you know, I might mess with his hair a little bit more now that I can see it with the hat on. So let's do that real quick. We want to have like some hair going on. So let's see if that's going to be worth using. The shaggy hair. No, I don't think we want that. We don't want that. Let's see if that's worth. Not particularly. How about this? A little bit shaggier. Nope, we don't want the shaggy. We want it to be quite short, but we still want it to be there. We want a presence. Let's see if that'll do. Nope, not sure about that. Let's use the wild hair. That'll do nicely. The wild hair is quite good for this. Without a hat, it kind of sticks up a little bit too far, and there's too much of a gap for my liking between the hairline and the eyes. But when you have a hat on, it just gives you a little bit more extra volume at the back, which I quite like. So we're going to do that. A lot of this is going to be hidden because there's going to be a lot of build on the shoulders in this when we use the clothing. So going back to that, as I say, let's take a look at what we are going to work with on the chest area, the actual clothing. As you can see, all these new clothing is still here. We've got farmer shirt and suspenders. That's new. I haven't seen that before. And we've got the Starship Captain, of course. I hadn't seen that before. That's quite fun. We might have to work with that at some point. But no, what we want here is a big coat, quite obviously. So there's stuff like this Outlaw's Duster, which has potential, but what I want is for there to be some fur on the shoulder area. Now, a lot of the coats don't have that, but if we scroll way, way down to the bottom, we will find something that's going to work. There's a lot of scrolling to get through here. And what we're actually looking at is something like this. The Bardic coat. So as you can see, we do have a little bit of fur going on here. It's a little bit overdone. So there's going to be a few added extras that ideally I wouldn't have. But I think it's going to work quite nicely because we do have some fur lining going on. We've got this nice fur at the top, and we can edit with colours where we need. Now, in terms of the rest of his clothing, it actually wants to be quite simplistic. He's a big dude, and he wears quite comfortable, loose-fitting, or what looks like quite loose-fitting trousers. So what I actually want to do here is not go with a set of quote-unquote trousers at all. I actually want to go with these, the pyjamas. And I think that's going to work quite nicely. It's fairly thematic, and you can see they're quite loose and baggy, and that's going to work really well. It's going to play nicely. On the feet, we want quite simple shoes. These are quite nice, these new tactical combat shoes. We'll certainly be using them at some point, but that's not what we want here. What we want here is something a little bit plainer and less further up the ankle. So, in my mind, the buttoned shoes are what I'm looking for. I'm pretty sure I've used them before. I certainly used them on my own builds. Something like the fur boots would be nice, but if you look at sort of the full body promotionals, again, he doesn't have fur boots. He just has shoes. So I'm going to be looking for those, the buttoned shoes. Yell if you see them. I won't be able to hear you, but do it anyway. There we go. Button shoes. That is exactly what I'm looking for. So, that is pretty much his clothing done. There's going to be a lot more stuff we can add to this in terms of the gear, and we will be doing that. But for now, I want to get a start on the colours. And there's not really too much we need to do here. It's actually quite simplistic. We want his, that's the kind of colour we're looking for on the body. That's fine. He actually does have blue eyes, so that's going to work really well as well. But now we can start getting into it. The hair first. Now, obviously, we want white hair. That's probably the best option. But what we also want is different colours on the eyebrows. He actually has black eyebrows. So we're going to pop that in. And actually this is a colour we're going to be using quite a lot of. The hat is going to be black. And all the fur trimmings are going to be black, as well as this part of the bodywork too. All of this is actually supposed to be black. Not that for sure. All of this is kind of in the film, in the movie. This is all like fur. So this is the closest we can realistically get. And as you can see, all of this sort of lining, this middle lining isn't present. The bottom one is, but you know, it's just going to add a little bit of flavour to it, and that's absolutely fine. Now, with that said and done, we can move on to the rest, and obviously we're going to be working with red here. I suppose I could make those red. We'll see. I want to make the rest of the bodywork completely red anyway. So these parts, for example, they're all going to be red. This is going to be red. Most of actually what he's wearing is going to be red. So all of this part, that'll be red. That's fine. We want something a little bit different on these. I think that will work nicely. Just a little bit of difference, not too much. I mean, I could, for example, do this, and I actually think I will, just for now, just to add a little bit of different kind of colours in there. So that's pretty much all we need to do on that set of the body. Now we can work on the trouser area. And he actually has kind of like these blue trousers. That's actually quite a good colour for it. I'm going to try something like this, and that might be decent. Perhaps this one. I think I like the first one better. Yeah, I quite like that. He does have those kind of faded blue trousers going on, which is perfect. We'll add that in, and that will be just fine. As for the rest of his clothing, we want some kind of black shoes, I think. So let's give him that. This doesn't need to be anything particularly fancy. You know, the shoes are hardly the main focus of this build. I just want to do them for general, you know, look. And these want to be as plain as possible. So that is pretty much him done in terms of the colour of his clothing. Now we can work on building him up even more. So we'll start with the base. Now we want this to be snow, quite obviously. But also we can add in some very unused items too. This isn't the newest item, this bundle of dynamite. Now obviously we're not using that. But we can add some items we don't get to use a lot, which is basically we're just going to add some presents. He's Santa Claus, why not? So we're going to add those in, and we're going to just use both presents. We'll move them around as we see fit. But I will add some colour to these. The best colours to use here are actually the cloths. So if we go into paints, we can make these quite brightly coloured. Something like this one called Auburn Concern. As you can see, it's orange and yellow, so there's already a different colour differentiation mix, which what it means is we'll get more of a yellow focus on the bow and more of a sort of, it's almost like a watermelon colour on the rest of the gift. As for the rest, something like a nice yellow and green we don't have a lot of. That'll do nicely. Wonderful. Okay, cool. So with that done, now we'll just really quickly do the base. As I say, we want this to be snow, so I'm going to use just the whitest colour we have for the snow, and we'll add in our black primer on the base. And that is nearly him finished. But this is going to move on to the reason why I wanted to do this version of Santa, because we can actually add weapons in, which is quite novel. Not very many iterations of Santa Claus across media use weapons, but we are going to get to use it for this one. I'm looking at my timing, this is going to be quite a short video. But we can add weapons in. Santa uses these two cutlasses as his weapons, which of course we do have. So if we go on to gear, we'll be able to find those. Not too much new in the weapon department. We do have this sawn-off shotgun, which is new. I think we've seen the muskets before, which is fine. We've actually got all these cans and cups on the Kickstarter, which is quite fun. I like the look of these. This drinking horn is excellent. But that's not what we want. We want the swords. So we go on to swords and we scroll not too far down, I wouldn't have thought. Oh, maybe further down than I thought. Here we go. The cutlasses. So he dual wields cutlasses, which is fine. We can just add those in. Nip across to colour. Go down to paints, and nothing too complicated here really. We want to get. This is probably the best colour for this part. If it will get on, lovely. Our usual sabre colour, I think, will work fairly well. I wonder if that's actually better. No, we'll leave it as is. And I like to use this for the grip. And that is pretty much him finished. We're just going to work on a pose, and we want him to be quite sort of open-faced, broad pose. And the best one for this is going to be. This is actually usually the pose we use when colouring in, when painting on minis, because it is the most open of poses, so it's easier to see all the different parts. It's actually going to work very nicely as the pose for Nicholas St. North here as well, because as you can see, he's looking pretty open and ready to fight. The one thing I do want to do is move the presents around. So I'm just going to make sure they're not clipping through his body at all. I think that's going to be fine where it is. I'm going to move this present forwards though, and just have it next to our other one a little further back. And a little more to the side if possible. Is that clipping? No, it's not. It's kind of adjoined to the other present, but that is absolutely fine. And I think I might just mess around with the this. Let's just make him a little bit more stern-faced. Yeah, why not? That'll do. I do kind of want to bring his head up just a little bit. So if we tilt his head up just a little, there we go. Excellent, and that is pretty much going to be our build of Nicholas St. North, the Santa Claus build, as it were, from Rise of the Guardians. Let's take a little look around. There's not all that much to see here. The Cossack hat is really what's made this. That's what's allowed it to be as accurate as it is. We get a little bit of clipping on the sabers. There's not much we can do with that. It's just a combination of the extra bit of the hilt on the saber combined with this particular item of clothing. That's nothing we can do about that, but that's fine. Zooming around, it's a basic Santa build. We don't have particularly long hair, but I quite like that we can at least see some out the back. It's not perfect, but it'll do. We've got the snow on the ground, which is fine. We've got his boots again. Not much to say there. He is quite a portly fellow, which I quite enjoy. What I'd like here, ideally, is for the beard to be perhaps a little shorter and a little wider. But realistically, we need this beard for its actual length. None of the rest of the beards are even near long enough. And also something like a belt would be nice. There are belt options on Hero Forge, but currently they are in the same section as the trouser sort of part, the leg area. In an ideal world, I'd say you'd have like a separate section for belts and really a separate section for jackets, but that's just me. That's just what I would like. But either way, this is a pretty accurate build of Nicholas St. North from Rise of the Guardians. So, thank you all very much for watching. I do hope that you enjoyed. Let me know what you think of this one. If there are any other characters that you would like to see me build for the rest of this year, for the week long we have, and of course into the new year, put them down in the comment section below, or hit me up on Twitter. You can always catch me there. Both of my Twitter links will be in the description of this video, along with a link to Hero Forge, the site I've been using for all of my my builds. The link is there. You can also see it on the bottom right hand of the screen. It's my favourite place to build minifigures. It's one of my favourite websites, one of my most used websites, and if you're looking for minifigures, I highly recommend you check them out. The other thing I recommend you check out is the final link in the description, which is to the series that inspired this one, Tulok the Barbarian's building character. But that's enough for me. I've rambled on far too long. So a Merry Christmas to you all. My final thank you to you all for watching, and I guess with that, I'll see you next time. Laters.